On December 29, 2024, Jake Paul, the uncontested master of awkward and blatant self-promotion, revealed on Instagram that he will be facing Conor McGregor. This was just another shocking revelation. Yes, Jake Paul, the boxer who was rejected by YouTube, believes he is going to create sports history.
You've been pretty selfish at this point your whole entire career. What have you done for a lot of fighters? This would be a powerful statement for you to join. So stop it. Stop running. Stop hiding. Stop being selfish. We need all the help we can get in making this union. Conor McGregor, that's the message.
He is bringing boxing's already precarious reputation into disarray for yet another carnival performance. Let's pause to acknowledge how ridiculous this matchup is. Jake Paul, whose boxing career only exists because people like seeing him look foolish, is on one side. A professional boxer indeed. Who are you? This individual has somehow persuaded himself and, unsettlingly, certain members of the public, that he is a real athlete after amassing a 111 record by knocking out a string of former mixed martial arts competitors. Oh, and his greatest accomplishment: defeating the legendary Anderson Silva at a time when Silva was essentially eligible to join the AARP. Not to mention his recent victory over Mike Tyson 58, who most likely put more effort into marketing his cannabis brand than into getting ready for the bout. Amazing, Jake. Very innovative thing. Conor McGregor, once a UFC trailblazer, is now more of a walking whiskey ag than a fighter. Sure, he was a two-division champion in the UFC, and his rise to stardom was one of the most electrifying in combat sports history. But let's face it, that was years ago, almost a lifetime ago in the ever-changing world of combat sports. Since 2017, when Floyd Mayweather, a boxing legend, toyed with him in the ring for 10 rounds before ending the charade with a TKO, McGregor's career has been as inconsistent as Jake Paul's humility is non-existent. McGregor's once promising MMA career, which made him a household name, has been all but on life support. In recent years, McGregor has focused more on selling booze than throwing punches, having launched his own whiskey brand, Proper 12, and posting thirst traps on Instagram. The man who once seemed destined for greatness in the cage now seems more committed to promoting his alcohol than refining his skills as a fighter. McGregor's last notable moment in combat sports came in 2021, when he suffered a brutal leg break during his fight with Dustin Poirier. This injury was the latest chapter in a series of setbacks that have made it hard to take McGregor's potential return seriously. Yet here we are, facing the prospect of McGregor stepping into a boxing ring again to face none other than Jake Paul, a YouTuber turned boxer whose fighting credentials are as questionable as his ability to string together a coherent sentence. The fight between McGregor and Paul is being dubbed as the fight of the century by the media, but let's call it what it really is: a cash grab of epic proportions. Reports claim this fight could rake in a staggering $250 million, $250 million, just for a few rounds of a spectacle that no one should confuse with real competition. Forget skill, forget legacy, forget actual competition. This fight is about selling pay-per-views and stirring up drama. Boxing's new motto might as well be, why fight for glory when you can fight for clicks? The combat sports world is no stranger to money-making spectacles, but this one is in a league of its own. What once was a sport where athletes dedicated their lives to perfecting their craft is now reduced to a sideshow that exists to generate eyeballs and generate revenue. And at the center of this circus is Anant Ambani, an Indian billionaire who is reportedly funding the fight as part of a tourism campaign to promote India. Because when you think of visiting India, surely the first thing that comes to mind is watching two rich guys swing at each other in a stadium, right? The fight is set to take place at Mumbai's Wankhede Stadium, a venue that holds 3-0
in insane shape.
Man, I wish Conor wasn't doing these types of
0 spectators, but millions more will tune in through pay-per-view to watch this spectacle unfold. The pre-fight drama feels less like genuine hype and more like an extended episode of a bad reality TV show. Jake Paul, true to his character, has been calling out McGregor for years, throwing tantrums online and trolling him in a way that makes you wonder if he's really a grown man or just a child who never learned how to share. From over-the-top trash talk to cringeworthy videos, Paul has done everything short of showing up at McGregor's doorstep with a megaphone. And McGregor, instead of ignoring Paul as the rest of the world has instead taken the bait. The result? We're now witnessing two grown men turning boxing into a sideshow act for our amusement. This fight isn't about proving who's the better athlete, nor is it about delivering an ounce of respect to the sport of boxing.
What do you think about Conor tweeting still at like 3 a.m. like coked out?
He sent shots at me and Ryan talking shit. It's crazy coming from Conor, who literally got out of the USADA pool to do legit steroids. And I was the biggest Conor fan for a long time. In the last couple weeks, ever since he sent that, I've been trying to hate him. I've been trying to be like, fuck you, Conor. But I can't. I love
This is about Jake Paul inflating his already overblown ego while cashing in on his endless need for attention. As for McGregor, he's probably just relieved that he won't have to face a hungry UFC contender who might actually knock him out cold. Instead, he gets a payday for smacking around a YouTuber who, let's be honest, probably thinks boxing gloves are just another accessory to his ever-growing wardrobe. Jake Paul insists that he's taking this fight seriously, of course. It's part of the show.
Conor, you're saying the interest is low for the fight.
The interest is low and I don't know. I don't understand.
He's posted endless training videos flexing his workouts as if hitting a speed bag for 15 seconds somehow erases years of being a glorified internet clown. Apparently, he's been in training since early January 2025, focusing on speed and agility. It sounds good in theory, but we're talking about Jake Paul here, the same guy who believes that flexing in front of a camera and posting workout montages will magically transform him into a skilled fighter. Sure, Paul has BJ Flores in his corner, a legitimate boxing coach, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Having a good coach doesn't automatically turn a guy with little real boxing experience into an actual contender. Paul's real talent lies in conning people into thinking he's an actual athlete. While he's skilled at promoting himself and drawing attention, the same can't be said for his abilities inside the ring. He's carefully avoided facing anyone who might actually present a legitimate challenge. And now, he's about to face a man who was once one of the best in the UFC.
In terms of like face-off views, this is, in my mind, the biggest fight the world will ever see.
They know that it's just like hard to handle for them because they've been like in a spotlight.
Though his skills have certainly diminished in recent years, Jake, as for McGregor, he's trying to make what many are calling a miraculous comeback. After snapping his leg like a cheap pencil in 2021, he's been through an arduous rehab process. Credit where it's due, McGregor has the heart of a lion. He's spent years rehabbing and is now trying to adapt his MMA skills to boxing. His dedication is admirable. But we have to acknowledge the reality. His last serious attempt at boxing was in 2017, when Mayweather effortlessly toyed with him for 10 rounds before calling it a night. McGregor hasn't been involved in professional boxing for years, and it's unclear if his body can keep up with the ambitions he still has. Yes, McGregor has heart, but after everything he's been through, the question remains, does he have the legs to back it up? In the end, this isn't a fight for glory, competition, or sportsmanship. It's a spectacle. A money grab for two men who have mastered the art of self-promotion and drawing in a crowd. Jake Paul versus Conor McGregor. On paper, this is an odd matchup, and anyone with even a hint of combat sports knowledge can probably see why. Jake Paul stands at 6'1" and weighs around 190 pounds, giving him a noticeable size advantage. But let's not kid ourselves into thinking size equals skill. Sure, Jake's height and weight may have helped him get by against retired MMA fighters and washed-up celebrities, but when you stack him up against someone like McGregor, it's a different story altogether. McGregor, at 5'9" and around 170 pounds, might be smaller, but he has experience facing legitimate killers in the UFC. McGregor's history includes battles with the best fighters in the world, while Jake's toughest competition so far has been a nearly 60-year-old Mike Tyson. And then we get to the betting odds. Believe it or not, Jake Paul is actually favored to win with odds at 175, while McGregor is the underdog at plus 155. Let that sink in. Jake Paul, a YouTuber turned fighter, is considered the favorite over Conor McGregor, one of the most iconic figures in MMA history. If that doesn't make you question the entire state of boxing, I don't know what will. It's a head-scratcher to say the least. Sure, Jake is younger and has a size advantage, but we need to be honest about the nature of his career. His entire fighting resume has been built on carefully curated matchups against opponents who are either too old, too small, or simply too irrelevant to make a real impact in a competitive context. Let's not forget, Jake's biggest claim to fame as a fighter has been beating up on washed-up former stars, not actually competing against legitimate, world-class athletes. And then there's the so-called expert opinions. Take Paulie Malignaggi, for instance. The former boxer and never shy commentator has gone on record saying that Jake Paul might actually knock out Conor McGregor. Yes, you heard that right. Jake Paul, the same guy who used to make prank videos for a living, is now being hyped as a potential knockout artist capable of taking down one of MMA's most celebrated fighters. If that doesn't make you cringe, nothing will. I don't think anyone can take this seriously. The idea that Jake, with limited experience and questionable skills, could somehow knock out McGregor is absurd. But this kind of hype is what sells tickets, and that seems to be the point of it all. Meanwhile, on the other side of the equation, we have Eddie Alvarez, a former UFC champion, who has pointed out the logistical nightmare McGregor would face just to make this fight happen. UFC contracts are notoriously airtight, and Dana White, the UFC president, isn't exactly known for letting his fighters chase after lucrative but irrelevant matchups in other combat sports.
Ducking of professional boxers. The next fight could potentially be a professional boxer. I'm just getting started. I'm 26 years old, and there's only so much I can do.